నమస్తే సార్. నా పేరు భవ్య తేజస్వి సార్. నేను కేఎల్ యూనివర్సిటీ విజయవాడలో ఫైనల్ ఇయర్ స్టూడెంట్. నా బ్రాంచ్ ఈసీఈ సార్. అండ్ నా స్పెషలైజేషన్ వచ్చేసి డేటా కంప్యూటింగ్. టోటలీ ఆర్టిఫిషియల్ ఇంటెలిజెన్స్ బేస్డ్ కోర్సెస్. అండ్ సార్ నా హాబీస్ వచ్చేసి సింగింగ్, డాన్సింగ్, ప్లేయింగ్ పియానో అండ్ స్పోర్ట్స్ ఇన్ ద ఫ్రీ టైమ్. నేను యాక్చువల్లీ ఏంటంటే విజయభావ రికార్డింగ్స్ అన్ని వింటూ ఉంటాను సార్. సో చాలా మీరు చెప్పే ఇన్ఫర్మేటివ్ థింగ్స్ అన్ని చాలా యూస్ఫుల్ గా ఉంటాయి. బికాస్ ఇప్పుడు స్టూడెంట్స్ కి కెరియర్ లో చాలా డౌట్స్ ఉంటాయి సార్. ఒక్కొక్కళ్ళు ఒక్కొక్కలా చెప్తూ ఉంటారు. సో చాలా డైలమాలో ఉంటారు స్టూడెంట్స్. సో మీరు చెప్పే ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అంతా చాలా వాల్యూ యాడెడ్ గా అనిపిస్తుంది సార్ మాకు. అది డెసిషన్ మేకింగ్ కానీ నెక్స్ట్ ఏం చేయాలి అనేది. బికాస్ మీరున్న పొజిషన్ లో చాలా మందిని చూసుంటారు మీరు. మీరు చెప్పేదంతా మాకు చాలా ఇన్ఫర్మేటివ్ గా అనిపిస్తుంది సార్. సార్ నేను వచ్చేసి ఇప్పుడు ఫైనల్ ఇయర్ లో ఉన్నాను. సో నేను క్యాంపస్ ప్లేస్మెంట్ లో ప్లేస్ అయిపోయాను సార్. సో కానీ ప్లేస్ అయ్యే ముందు కూడా నాకు ఫస్ట్ చాలా డౌట్స్ ఉండేవి సార్. మాకు 2 సెపరేట్ డివిజన్స్ అంటూ ఉంటాయి. ఒకటి క్యాంపస్ రిక్రూట్మెంట్ ట్రైనింగ్ కి, ఇంకొకటి హైయర్ స్టడీస్ పర్సూ చేసుకోవడానికి.
ఓకే.
సో ఫస్ట్ డౌట్ అనేది స్టూడెంట్స్ కి అక్కడ నుంచి స్టార్ట్ అవుతుంది సార్. నేనైతే క్యాంపస్ రిక్రూట్మెంట్ ట్రైనింగ్ చూస్ చేసుకున్నాను సార్. కానీ మీ బట్టి ఆ పర్టికులర్ సిచ్యువేషన్ లో ఎలా చేసుంటే బెటర్ అనిపిస్తుంది సార్. మీరు చెప్తే దాన్ని బట్టి అట్లీస్ట్ నేను ఈ డెసిషన్ తీసుకున్నా ఇంకొకరికన్నా ఇట్ విల్ బి యూస్ఫుల్ సార్.
యా, డెఫినెట్ గా క్యాంపస్ ఇంటర్వ్యూ ద్వారా జాబ్ వస్తే దట్ విల్ బి ద బెస్ట్ ఆప్షన్. ఎందుకంటే క్యాంపస్ ఇంటర్వ్యూలో వచ్చినప్పుడు మనకు ఆపర్చునిటీస్ ఎక్కువ ఉంటాయి, సాలరీస్ అవి కూడా స్టాండర్డ్ గా ఉంటాయి. దాని తర్వాత దెర్ విల్ బి మచ్ లెస్ ఇష్యూస్ విత్ రెస్పెక్ట్ టు వాట్ యు ఆర్ బీయింగ్ ఆస్క్డ్, what kind of interviews that you go through, the fairness, and overall the process will be very good. So if you have an opportunity to participate in a campus interview, and if you can get opportunities from campus, I would also give first preference to jobs that come out of campus. కొన్నిసార్లు ఏమవుతుందంటే అలా కాకుండా క్యాంపస్ ఇంటర్వ్యూలో మనం అటెండ్ అవుతున్నప్పుడు కూడా కొన్నిసార్లు వెన్ యూ హ్యావ్ డన్ ఇంటర్న్షిప్ ఇన్ సమ్ కంపెనీస్, లేదంటే యూ మే నో సంబడి ఫ్రమ్ సమ్ అదర్ కంపెనీ, యూ మే గెట్ ఆపర్చునిటీస్. అలాంటప్పుడు యూ హ్యావ్ టు కంపేర్ అండ్ కాంట్రాస్ట్ అన్నమాట. అన్లెస్ దే హ్యావ్ గివెన్ యూ ఏ జాబ్ ఇన్ ఏ బెటర్ కంపెనీ with a better set of career opportunities and better salary, generally campus opportunities are first preference in my opinion.
బెటర్ సాలరీ అని ఆ టైప్ లో మీరు అంటున్నారు సార్. బట్ సార్ ఇప్పుడు జనరల్ గా మన ఇప్పుడు ఇండియాలో లైక్ మోస్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద కంపెనీస్ ఏంటంటే బేసిక్ అన్ని యూనివర్సిటీస్ కి వెళ్ళే బేసిక్ సిటీసీ అయితే 3.54 lakhs కి స్టూడెంట్స్ ప్లేస్ అవుతారు సార్. లైక్ మెజారిటీ ఆన్ యావరేజ్. ఇప్పుడు నా ఫ్రెండ్స్ లో కానీ ఎవరైనా కానీ ఆ సాలరీలో ప్లేస్ అయినా కూడా వాళ్ళు వర్క్ చేద్దాం అనుకుంటున్నారు సార్. బికాస్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ ఇంపార్టెంట్, నెక్స్ట్ ఏదన్నా చేస్తే అన్నట్టు ఉన్నారు సార్. సో వాట్ డూ యూ థింక్ అబౌట్ దిస్ సార్? ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ రియల్ గా ఇంపార్టెంటా, లేకపోతే ఇప్పుడే హైయర్ స్టడీస్ కంటిన్యూ చేయాలా అన్నట్టు?
నాకు అనిపించడం ఏంటంటే ఇఫ్ యూ గెట్ ఎ జాబ్ ఆపర్చునిటీ, అది తీసుకుని డెవలప్ వర్క్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ బిఫోర్ యూ గో టు మాస్టర్స్. ఎందుకంటే కొన్నిసార్లు ఇమ్మీడియట్గా జాబ్ తీసుకుని చేస్తే then you will know whether you like that kind of a job, whether you want to do some other kind of job, whether the specialization that you have chosen is appropriate or not. For example, there are people who do software, then they will get into testing, or they will get into IT, or they will get into software development, or they will get into some other kinds of jobs. చదువుకున్నప్పుడు బాగానే ఉంటుంది, కానీ వర్క్ చేస్తున్నప్పుడు they may feel like this is not the kind of work that I want to do. This is not the kind of life that I want to live. This is not the type of work that I want to do. అలా అనుకున్నప్పుడు then you can come back. You can either do an MBA, or you can do something else, or you can look for some other opportunity. So my first recommendation would be, if you get a job, any job for that matter, is probably preferable to working for masters. Okay, there are 2 exceptions to that. One exception will be, you studied in a good university, but not great university, not like IITs, or let us say NITs, or some other type of top IIT or something. Let us say you did local university, the best engineering college, which you know, but you get an opportunity to do a master's in IIT or some of these kinds of top institutions. Then you have to weigh the options. Should I go for a job, or should I get a better branding by going to IIT or IIIT or ISB or IIM or something else like that? So that is one exception. The second exception is if you get opportunities to do master's or PhD abroad, especially if you get with a scholarship, top 100 institutions in the world, anywhere outside the country, take it. If you get it with scholarship, you should take it, because with scholarship రావడం ఇప్పుడు almost less than 5% chance. So any good university with scholarship is definitely preferable to taking up a job right away. ఎందుకంటే you don't have to go for 3.5 lakhs offer. Once you do the masters in a top university, really good IITs or something else, the range of salaries that you get will become much different. So those are the only two exceptions I will give you.
Most of the people వచ్చే క్వశ్చన్ ఏంటంటే, సపోజ్ బీటెక్ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ వ్యూలో అయితే 4 years కంప్లీట్ అయిపోయాక ఇప్పుడు మళ్ళీ 2 years వర్క్ చేశాక ఇంట్రెస్ట్ లూజ్ అయిపోద్దేమో, లైక్ ఇంకా మళ్ళీ స్టడీలోకి వెళ్ళాలంటే అది బిగ్ డీల్ అయిపోద్దేమో అప్పుడున్న సిచ్యువేషన్స్ కి అన్నట్టు కూడా ఆ టైప్ ఆఫ్ క్వశ్చన్స్ కూడా అరైజ్ అవుతూ ఉంటాయి సార్. పర్సనల్ గా నాకు కూడా ఇప్పుడు నాకేంటంటే లైక్ ఐ హావ్ సపోర్ట్ ఫ్రమ్ ఆల్ యాంగిల్స్ సార్. అంటే ఫ్యామిలీ కానీ, సో లైక్ నాకు ఫ్లెక్సిబుల్ టైం లైన్ ఉంది సార్. ఐ హ్యావ్ స్కోప్. నేను ఇప్పుడు కావాలంటే 2 years ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ తెచ్చుకొని వర్క్ చేయొచ్చు, అలా ఉంది. దెన్ స్టిల్ నాకు ఎంత ఫోకస్డ్ గా ఉన్నా కూడా నా మీద నాకు ఒక సార్ట్ ఆఫ్ డైలమా వస్తుంది సార్. ఇప్పుడు 2 years వర్క్ చేశాక అక్కడ బెటర్ పే పెరిగిపోయినా, బెటర్ ఆపర్చునిటీస్ వచ్చేసినా అదే కంటిన్యూ అవ్వాలి, ఇంకా నెక్స్ట్ హైయర్ స్టడీస్ ఇంకా అవసరం లేదన్న థాట్స్ వస్తాయి అన్నట్టు. ఎలా చేస్తే ఫోకస్ గా ఉంటామన్నది నాకు ఆ డైలమాలో ఉన్నాను సార్.
జాబ్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఇప్పుడు ఇట్ ఈస్ లైక్ ఏ కన్స్యూమర్స్ మార్కెట్. లాట్స్ ఆఫ్ థింగ్స్ ఆర్ ఓపెనింగ్ అప్. Of course, ఎవరికి అవి ఓపెన్ అవుతున్నాయి? If you are graduating from a good university, if you are in the top 10 or 20%, and if you are joining a job, and even in the job, if you are in the top 1/4, top quartile అంటారు, top 1/4 లో ఉంటే, then you will get a lot more opportunities, either to grow, promotions, opportunities to switch jobs within the company or switch jobs outside the company. All of them are opportunities. But if you are not in the top quartile, if you are in the top 50%, then you will have to work hard. But if you take additional Coursera lo kani, Udemy lo kani, if you do other type of certifications and courses, and some of them, you might be able to upgrade your certification, and you may be able to get opportunities. But if you are in the bottom half, then the opportunities drastically reduce anamata. Whether you are in college or whether you are in a job situation, then your opportunities and options become significantly limited. That is when you will have to really work hard and figure out a way in which, first of all, you can boot yourself up to a higher position. Then you can think about various other opportunities.
సార్ ఇంకొక డౌట్ ఏంటంటే, ఇప్పుడు బీటెక్ చేశాక లైక్ ఏ బ్రాంచ్ లో అయితే చేసామో ఆ బ్రాంచ్ ఓరియంటెడ్ గానే మాస్టర్స్ కూడా స్పెసిఫిక్ గా చేస్తే ఇంకా బెటర్ గా ఉంటుంది అన్న దాని మీద మీ ఒపీనియన్ ఏంటి సార్? అంటే అప్పుడు ఒకవేళ ఇప్పుడు ప్రెసెంట్ నేను ఈసీ కాబట్టి నెక్స్ట్ నేను హైయర్ స్టడీస్ కి వెళ్ళినప్పుడు నాకు ఇంకొక దాని మీద ఇంట్రెస్ట్ పెరిగితే విల్ ఐ హావ్ ద ఛాన్స్ టు చేంజ్ అన్నట్టు. అంటే ఒకవేళ ఇన్ కేస్ నేను చేంజ్ ఆఫ్ సబ్జెక్ట్ చేసినప్పుడు ఆ పాయింట్ ఆఫ్ టైమ్ లో ఇస్ ఇట్ ఫైన్ అన్నట్టు నాకు అది కూడా డౌట్ ఉంది సార్.
ఇప్పుడు అండర్ గ్రాడ్ డిగ్రీ, ఇప్పుడు ఇంజనీరింగ్ చేసినది ఇట్స్ ఎ బేసిక్ డిగ్రీ. యూ మైట్ హావ్ డన్ స్పెషలైజేషన్ అంటే వాట్ ఎవర్. If you get a job and if you take up a job and develop 2-3 years of experience in that particular field, that's a very different thing. But college lo చదివిన కోర్స్ తర్వాత దానిలోనే మాస్టర్స్ చేయాలని లేదు. యాజ్ అ మ్యాటర్ ఆఫ్ ఫ్యాక్ట్ సమ్ టైమ్స్ సంథింగ్ డిఫరెంట్. ఇప్పుడు ఎలక్ట్రికల్ కమ్యూనికేషన్ ఇంజనీరింగ్, దాని నుంచి కంప్యూటర్ ఇంజనీరింగ్ ఆర్ కంప్యూటర్ సైన్సెస్ చేసినప్పుడు దానిలోంచి ఏఐ ఆర్ మెషిన్ లెర్నింగ్ or data, anything else, big data, or if you do other kinds of things, there are two opportunities. At the end of masters, either you can go back to what you got at undergrad, but that also means you are not leveraging the studies that you have done in your master's level. But if they are related to a certain extent, they may not be completely aligned, but if they are related in the broadly, then that will help you also. So my recommendation is go after what you are most passionate about, interested in. Don't just go after whatever has got the maximum opportunity, because 2 years తర్వాత ఆ ఆపర్చునిటీ ఉంటుందో లేదా ఇంకా కొత్త ఫీల్డ్ తయారై ఉంటుందో కొత్త టైప్ ఆఫ్ జాబ్స్ వస్తాయో లేదో తెలియదు మనకు. The way in which technology is evolving, things might change drastically and very quickly. So you should look at what are the best opportunities when you take up masters, and what is that you can get into, what is that has got a maximum interest for you. If there is a way your interest and demand match, then that is the best. If not, try to take at least 50% value for your interest, other 50% for the demand. Together, whatever maximizes, go for it. Don't just go for whatever is the what you call field that everybody wants to get into, especially if you are not interested, then you will not do very well.
సో సార్ ఇప్పుడు మీరు అనే దాన్ని బట్టి ఏది మనం ప్యాషనేట్ ఉంటే దాని వైపు వెళ్ళాలంటున్నారు సార్. సో ఇప్పుడు నేను ఒక పర్టికులర్ కెరియర్ చూస్ చేసుకునేటప్పుడు మైండ్ లో పెట్టుకోవాల్సిన పారామీటర్స్ ఏంటి సార్? అంటే కొంతమంది మనీ పెట్టుకుంటారు, కొంతమంది హ్యాపీనెస్ పెట్టుకుంటారు, అలా సర్టన్ పారామీటర్స్ ఉంటాయి. సో మీ దృష్టిలో కెరియర్ చూస్ చేసుకునేటప్పుడు ఎలాంటి పారామీటర్స్ అనేది మనం మెయిన్ గా దృష్టిలో పెట్టుకొని చేయాలి సార్?
మీరు ఆలోచిస్తుండే దాని ప్రకారము you are assuming you will take one career and you will stay there till you retire. But that is not how it is going to happen. As a matter of fact, ఇప్పుడు at least in United States, people say people like you who are getting into workforce right now will change between 3 to 5 careers, not jobs. So they are assuming, like for example, I know a young lady who just joined in Microsoft as a director. She did her MSc in Tirupati Engineering College. Then she came to Penn State to do her master's in chemistry and chemical engineering. And after she did that, she got married and she wanted to do PhD, but she got married. And because her husband moved to Los Angeles from wherever he was, she moved there and she was thinking about and something else. And then just while she is looking at, because there were no chemical engineering jobs right away available at that time, she started taking a job in telecommunications company, like a Verizon. She started working with them. And unfortunately, something happened and her husband passed away. She moved from there to some other town, but she did very well in that job. And when her boss moved from that telecommunications company to another telecommunications company, she was in marketing, as a matter of fact, telecommunications marketing and executive relations. From there, she moved into supply chain in another one. So he helped her to learn the supply chain and helped her to become good. She became so good, another telecommunications company bought that company Sprint. As a matter of fact, they kept her and they let go of her boss. And she worked in it, and then she began to develop technology in data sciences. So she specialized as a supply chain data sciences. Now, from there, she moved as a director to another company to start up a whole new thing for a company like Microsoft to the software. She will be doing supply chain data sciences, using all of that to create a financial supply chain, some such thing like that she is developing. I just gave an example. So what it means is you can do variety of things and you can change. Of course, I myself, I have a PhD in physics. Then from there, I went into Apple Computer. I was in international marketing for a while. Then I went into human resources. Then I became a fellow looking at future directions. And from there, I quit. And for past 30 years, I worked as a business school professor and I worked in leadership development and innovation and some stuff like that. So this is about 35 years ago. So that means if a person like me who is in my 60s, if I had 3 different careers, people who are in their 20s will have easily 3 to 5 different careers. So what I recommend is, do not plan as just one career. Focus on your passion. Because there was a research that was done in Google a few years ago, maybe 5 years ago. They found out that even if two people got masters in computer science, they're in Stanford, both of them got hired by Google, and one person is very interested in what they are doing. Another person is okay, not that interested, but doesn't have anything against the job that they are doing. But they found out the productivity of the person who is interested, his productivity is approximately 15 times more than that of the other person. Not 15%, 15 times the kind of code that person writes, the kind of efficiency and sharpness and the quality, all of it is significantly better than the other person. So what people found is, if you are interested in what you are doing, if you are passionate about what you are doing, then your creativity, then your innovation, then your problem solving ability, all of them will also raise to the top. Why? Because you are engaged. So the employee engagement, employee interest, employee passion are significant variables in determining the employee productivity. So from that perspective, considering that you will be changing careers and jobs, my second recommendation is, take something which you are passionate about, and that will also give you decent opportunities and decent salary. Do not prioritize just on the money, because I have seen many times people take, like for example, from a business school, sometimes they take up a consulting company like McKinsey or Bain or Boston Consulting Group or something like that, or they will take some financial, Goldman Sachs and such kinds of companies. There may be different kind of names for the banks, but investment banks are investment banks, whatever name you call them by. They'll take it because they are the highest paying things. But after 3 years or 5 years, they come back and say, I would like to do something else that has got a more job satisfaction, or that will give me a little bit more time at home, or it will be a little bit less stress and less pressure. I got all the money, but it doesn't necessarily satisfy me. Especially for women, you might want to pick and choose what will kind of allow you to do what you want to do. If you are completely focused on work, then there is no difference. You shouldn't think about, I'm a woman, I'm a man. You can take up anything you want. But let us say you have a passion towards family life. Like you said, you are from a joint family. It's like you love the relationships, you love to spend some time, you love to spend time with cousins and brothers and sisters, and and you are looking at having a big family, or spending a lot of time taking care of and nurturing some of that type of stuff. Then you can actually pick and choose how you want to balance them. These days, especially because of the COVID and because of some situations, because people can work from home or study from home, all of those opportunities are coming in. You may be able to even have appropriately balanced family along with having appropriate time. Even people who are like CEOs, I remember there was a gentleman, he is now on the board of Google and some other things, one gentleman called Alan Mulally, who was considered to be the best CEO of the year. He was CEO of Ford Motor Company. Once he told me in an interview that he has 4 boxes: personal life, professional life, spiritual life, and giving back to the society. So he said he looks at all the 4 of them while he is looking at. So if a CEO of a company can think like that, I think there is nothing wrong in anybody trying to balance it. But it may not come in the job opportunities, might not allow you that type of flexibility or that freedom or that time, but you'll have to negotiate that. You'll have to work that out and create proper boundaries. If you can do it, and if the bosses are not listening, then chances are you might be able to quit and figure out a job that works for your temperament and your opportunities. So I wouldn't be worried about choosing one job and sticking with it for the rest of your life. That's what I mean by this long set of answers.
So, what are the challenges that a person faces while jumping from career to career? So, ఎట్లాంటి challenges అనే face చేస్తారు సార్? Like multiple careers అనేది ఇప్పుడు ఆ పర్టికులర్ టైంలో ఏది వాట్ దే ప్యాషనెట్ అబౌట్ అది చూస్ చేసుకుంటారు. కానీ దానివల్ల కొన్ని challenges అయితే ఫేస్ చేయాలి. సో లైక్ మీరు మీ కెరియర్ లో ఫేస్ చేసిన ఛాలెంజెస్ ఏంటి సార్? లైక్ మీరు ఫిజిక్స్ లో చేశాను అన్నారు, తర్వాత యూ జంప్ టు డిఫరెంట్ బిజినెస్ ఓరియంటెడ్ కెరియర్. సో అలాంటప్పుడు మీరు ఫేస్ చేసిన ఛాలెంజెస్ ఏంటి సార్, అండ్ హౌ టు ఓవర్కమ్ ఇట్?
Obviously, you won't be able to just change the job unless you are passionate about it. So when I was in physics, that is the time when the personal computers started coming out. IBM PC came out, Apple came out with a Macintosh. Before that, there was an Apple II. So I was really beginning to use some of these. There was something called Osborne. There was something called K-Pro. So when I started using them, I really got fascinated by them. For example, I'm interested in Carnatic music. There was a friend of mine, Ananta Krishnan Ani. He also studied in IIT Madras. He's MTech. He's a violinist. He had come to give a concert in the United States, and he stayed with me in my house. And Macintosh had just come out, and then there was a MIDI interface at that time. It was called Musical Instrument Digital Interface. That is what was there. And at that time, he and I sat down and we started putting some Carnatic music, varnas and all of that on a Macintosh keyboard. And so I was doing video disc player interface, and I was trying to do teaching materials to be developed. So what was happening was, even though I'm a physicist, some of these things, instead of just using computers as tools in my physics, I started playing with computer software. I started playing with the interfaces. I started playing with different kinds of computing soft platforms. Because of that, I started writing about computers in education. I started how you can use Macintosh in scientific calculations, or how you can do PowerPoint presentations to create lessons in classroom. When I started writing, publishing, and when I started doing some of these more as hobby, because that was very novel and it was brand new, nobody knew how to use some of these computers in education stuff, I very quickly became known for some of the work that I was doing. So Apple started using me as a consultant. So when there was an opportunity, I jumped. I learned a lot. I started working with them. I started writing for top magazines, and I started learning what the kind of things that are necessary. So I jumped. That means it took like 2 to 3 years of learning without any money, without anything else, just because I was so passionate. I learned enough. They felt what I learned without even the degree or anything else. They found it to be valuable, and they offered me a job, and I switched. Similarly, once I switched, I found some things to be interesting, some things not to be interesting. Again, I began to show interest in management development, communication skills, and soft skills, decision making, and helping other people to be better. So I went into human resources. And while I was in human resources, human learning, training, some of it became very interesting. So I started working with a person. I had a chance to interview several Nobel laureates and about how people learn, how people think, how people create. So we started doing fundamental research in that area so that we can develop technology tools for Apple, both software and hardware. In that process, he went into creating tools, my colleague called Bill Atkinson. So he started a company called General Magic, whereas I began to understand the human learning processes, cognitive psychology, developmental psychology, blocks to learning, blocks to creativity, innovation. How do you innovate? How do you build teams and all that? So I went into fundamental research on how people learn and how people lead, how people collaborate. So I became a business school professor later, whereas he became a fantastic software in that area. He created company, and some of the things which he developed became the precursor to internet. So my sense is that there are various ways in which you can develop, but the key part is to recognize what they are paying for you is some part of it. Some people say, oh, you asked me to do this job in 4 hours, I could do it in 1.5 hours. That means I have a 2.5 hours of goof off time. But some other people look at it and say, I don't need to do what you asked me to do, but I have interest in these other topics, whether I'm interested in Unix shell or I'm interested in some other things, and I'm interested in this kind of programming, or I'm interested in what my colleague is doing. So what essentially it comes down to is, if you learn things because you are interested, not because you are being told to learn or because you are paid to do, or some of it. If you can use your time intelligently to broaden the scope and knowledge of your work, then you can change careers. Then you will get a lot of opportunities. Then you can move around quite a bit. So that's what it takes. It takes a lot of initiative, and it takes a lot of curiosity, and it takes a lot of hard work to change careers and grow both vertically or horizontally and become a broad-based person. And that has got a lot of market. If you become a broad-based person, you can have significant opportunities both as an entrepreneur as well as within the company to become a CEO of a company, rather than stopping at a vice president of engineering or VP of IT, or just being in the technology field. You can go into general management and broader type of stuff.
Thank you, sir. Information on the career choose చేసుకోవడానికి like certain parameters set చేయడానికి కూడా చాలా useful గా ఉంటుంది, sir. Thank you for this.
You're very welcome. So maybe what you call, we'll have another conversation soon, and
Sure,
we'll
sir.
talk more. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you,
sir.
Bhavya.